Hey everyone, how's it going today? And welcome back to another third stimulus check unemployment benefits extension update. So we actually have some really incredibly great, actually several incredibly great news to share in today's update. I am recording this relatively late, so hopefully the lighting is okay, only because I normally try to rely on sunlight a little bit, but it's just because I have a lot of stuff I kind of have to take care of throughout the day, so hopefully we can squeeze in this update. Because in today's update, I really just want to focus this dominantly on one state. We will be talking about a couple of the other states, but really focusing it on one state, because keep in mind is that whatever happens, as long as one state is able to hopefully successfully win their unemployment back, this can potentially be a chain for a lot of other states. And we're already starting to see it, which is the really great news of a lot of other states to potentially try to do similar if they're able to at least have one case successfully manage to go through. Keep in mind is that it really only took one state, which was Montana, sadly, that ended their unemployment, to create a chain of just basically 20 other states to also end their unemployment. So the hope is that if we're able to finally have one state that's able to truly bring it back, even beyond just the injunction that we've talked about in the past videos, hopefully maybe this can create a chain of others to do so as well, to know what's actually physically possible out there. We talked a lot about this in this previous video, as most of you guys probably already saw, called 4 states. Feel free to check it out. It'll be at the end screen. Although granted, actually the really great news, and I guess that's one of the really great news is to share, is that there is now actually one more state that has now officially joined into the lawsuit, and that lawsuit is and that specific state is huge congrats to Oklahoma, which is now officially joined in the lawsuit. So now there are actually officially 5 states that are going through the lawsuit in order to try to fight for unemployment. Of course, because 2 of those states, Ohio and Oklahoma, as just mentioned, they just opened their lawsuit. We don't have as much information yet about them, but the great news is that they at least exist. And I think just by having the lawsuit is already a massive jump upwards, especially if the states that are actually further now along, which we're going to talk about in their lawsuit, is able to actually finally completely go through. So hopefully, even if you are from another state that's not mentioned, it can hopefully be some inspiration about what can hopefully potentially come into your state as well. Or maybe it already is in your state if it's one of the states that we're going to be talking about. But maybe the really great news, just to start off on the bat, aside from I guess the second great news, because the first great news was about Oklahoma. The great news that I really wanted to share in today's update is that Indiana has officially made a ruling in court as of yesterday, when this video is released. So specifically on Monday, July 12th, 2021, so within the last 24 hours from release date, the court has officially made an order demanding that Governor Holcomb in Indiana must, keyword is must, now bring back the unemployment. Originally, in the very first hearing, what happened is, as most of you guys know, is that there was an injunction. However, what really ended up happening is that even though they won the right to bring back the unemployment benefits, what ended up happening is that Governor Holcomb was trying, and he still is actually very much fighting to try to appeal the case to bring it back. The great news is that now, after the second hearing again, is that now the judge has officially demanded that they have to now continue the unemployment. We also actually officially now have word from the Biden administration about this, so maybe this is something that can apply to almost every state if you were just wondering about what Biden has to say, or simply the Biden administration in general. And they've also officially given a date, hoping that in Indiana, with the assumption that they stay true to their word and everything goes smoothly, is that according to the court is that they have to bring back their unemployment by the end of this week, because they've, after all, already won the injunction. So at this point, it's really just about the logistic of physically being able to do it. But I want to talk all about that in today's update. But as always, real quick before we begin, as always, remember to smash the like button, especially because I think it is pretty great news to like, after all, certainly in a lot of states. Consider subscribing and hitting the bell for similar videos. We will potentially be revisiting other general finance topics as well, but I figured it's still really great, especially because we will definitely share it if we do get any more updates about just unemployment in general, especially because the information's moving relatively fast, which is a great thing. And as always, feel free to comment any questions, thoughts, or honestly just any information about your particular state at any time, because I'm sure a lot of other people would love to hear it as well, and we can also share it in future updates. So with that being said, let's get this video started. So the really great news to start off with, as most of you guys already know and just heard, is that Indiana has officially won a court order in order to bring back their unemployment. The story, if you really need the general background to what ended up happening, is that they were essentially the first state to file a lawsuit. They were also the first state to win their injunction. But the only thing what ended up happening is that because they won their injunction after the unemployment had already ended, what ended up happening is that Governor Holcomb was actually trying to fight it back. So in other words, you kind of have Governor Holcomb, who is the governor of Indiana, try to take away the unemployment. Then you have the people suing, and thankfully they won back the unemployment. And then you have the governor again trying to attack it, and he actually tried to appeal the case. And the really great news is that as of yesterday, from when this is released, or Monday, if you are watching this into the future, is that the court has now officially issued an order that he has to return the unemployment back until the case is closed. And I think ever since he made that order, Governor Holcomb has not yet responded. So it's kind of been silent on his part. Maybe he'll finally give in. Maybe he'll press and try to challenge it again. We don't really know the answer. But the great news is that according to court order at this time and according also to the Department of Labor within Indiana, they've officially stated that with the assumption everything goes smoothly, because again, everything kind of just changes all over the place sometimes, is that not only are they set now, or that they are ordered in order to bring back the unemployment, but also that it will be coming back according to them by the very end of this week. So hopefully if they're able to stay true to their word, I think that it's really great news. Not only because we actually have somewhat of a decision, or certainly somewhat of an order that's going on, but an actual time frame that we can actually look forward to on a calendar right now. I think the really big story in terms of what he pled within his specific case, aside from the fact that he believes that unemployment should go really because of incentivizing people to go back to work, although of course we've already talked about that, about why there's a little bit of a misleading part about that. But the general idea, I think what really ended up happening is that the second plea in his appeal that he tried to bring up in his case was that because he already officially ended it, I think he was trying to basically claim in his case, right, that he couldn't logistically bring it back because they had already officially ended it, because of contract-based reasons, and because the idea really, the bottom line really, is that he was essentially trying to make it logistically difficult to bring it back. Exactly kind of like how we mentioned in the last video, or one of the last videos, called Lawsuits for States, although of course we've already shared the great news, which is now officially 5 states, is that even though they won the injunction, he was trying to create a hard time within the system in order to try to prevent it from logistically happening. There are many ways that people can do this, even just beyond just everything related to this particular case. You might have observed situations where maybe someone will win a lawsuit, maybe someone will win money, maybe someone will win a particular something, but then the other side just refuses. They just either refuse to let go, they hold down, or they try to run. But the great news is that under the court order, especially because he is the governor after all, so it's not like he's just a stranger that can kind of flee the scene. The great news is that hopefully through this order, it'll finally come back. And that kind of leads on to another big thing is that the Biden administration has actually interestingly now officially come in order to kind of voice their opinion. And according to what the Biden administration has said is that all states can officially restart their unemployment while the lawsuits continue. So in other words, what the Biden administration has claimed now, or has stated now, is that there is no logistical barrier to doing this. So unless the state simply wants to claim there is, but now that the Biden administration has spoken, it basically shows that that is not the case. I think the idea, what they specifically stated, is that if your state has officially ended both the $300 and the PUC program, they do have to sign some kind of contract agreement to be able to rejoin in order to continue or bring back the benefits. But the idea is that with the Biden administration on the federal level, because keep in mind, unemployment comes from 2 sides. Part of it comes from the state level, the other part of it comes from the federal level. But on the federal level, they're open to it. So that reasoning, what Governor Holcomb mentioned about the logistics, the Biden administration has said is that is not the case. All it is at this point is it's more about if they want to physically do it. However, one thing that they did end up noting, right, on another hand, is that if the person happens to be on the PUA or simply just the state's PUA program in general, is that if a lawsuit is filed, however, that program must continue. So the idea is that with the $300 and the FPUC is that they're open to the idea of continuing it, but with the PUA, it is a must that they basically have to continue. And I think really the big significance about this is that it pretty much just shows is that I think it's important to clarify is that it does not mean that the states necessarily have to bring back the unemployment program, but what it does mean is that if the state ends up being ordered by court, whether it's through an injunction to bring it back, it means that it's available and that they can definitely do it. And what this will hopefully do is that it will increase the odds of any state that hopefully does, or thankfully has already now started and opened up their lawsuit, to basically actually now hopefully successfully actually win their lawsuit and finally officially bring it back until the actual original end date of September 2021. And I think at this point, what it's really about is just that if your particular state, or maybe your state thankfully already has, but if your state has not joined in the lawsuit, then what it really is about whether your state actually ends up now just opening a lawsuit. The result is a different story, but I think the most important thing is just by having that lawsuit, it means not only is there a chance, but that if anything, right, hopefully it ends up, becoming a victory. And so far it's looking promising in a lot of states, but the idea is that it can at least prolong the program so people can stay on for as long as can be until the actual court decision is officially settled. There is only one really important potential loophole that I think it's really important to kind of be aware of what they can potentially pull. It's not that they necessarily will do this, but it is just something to be on guard about is that, and this actually applies to even states that are still on their unemployment program, is that there are actually many states now that are starting to implement or starting to become more strict about doing their work search requirements. And I think the belief is that one of the loopholes that they can potentially do is that if they wanted to, right, they can potentially increase the actual strictness of the work search program to potentially make it so even if they actually physically continue the unemployment in the sense of making it open and available for people, they may try to do something to give a harder time for people to actually physically be able to get on and stay on it. But of course, that one's something that's much more dependent on the state, so it kind of depends on what the state wants to do, but it is just maybe something to really be on guard. I do know California has recently just started their work search requirement, and they're starting to actually check. So it's not just that they've have it existing, but they're actually going to potentially now start to actually really enforce it. Of course, because it just started, we have to really see what happens. But beyond this, that's pretty much what I really just wanted to share in today's update. So if you guys found that insightful, maybe, and you guys haven't done so already, consider smashing the like button, consider subscribing, hitting the bell for similar updates. And as always, feel free to comment any questions, thoughts about Honestly Just Really, or information that you might have about honestly anything. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay well, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.